This show gives you an opportunity to connect with your city councilor and, of course, for them to connect with you. Welcome to Ward Updates 2022, a series of one-on-one interviews with city councilors. We are going to discuss a number of important issues during these discussions, issues that affect you, your family, your neighbors, members of your community. And my guest today is Eli El-Chantiry. He is the city councilor for West Carleton March Ward. Welcome, Eli. And I'd like to start off talking about, something on a personal basis. I just wanted to ask you, how have you and your family been coping as we get into almost 2 years of this pandemic so far?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Derick, for the opportunity to speak today with you. We're doing okay, like everyone else. Many of the times work out of home in the basement, as you can see, or we have to go to Kinburn, my office at the Client Service Center in Kinburn. And that's also is a locked building, so I'm there alone. My wife and I, we've been married for 42 years. We don't have children. We have a lot of nephews and grandchildren, so we get to see them sometimes. But like everybody
Nice.
else, during the pandemic, it's a challenge to be able to see your loved one and to be safe and follow the rules and the protocol established by Ontario Public Health and the City Public Health. And for someone like me who sit on the Ottawa Public Health Board, obviously we're bound by the rules and follow but in overall, we're doing okay. The City of Ottawa, to be honest with you, treat their staff very well, treat us well. They give all our staff the electronic, the hardware they need to work at home. So 3 of my staff, they do work from home, and we are grateful they'll be able to connect with our resident and continue delivering the information and the news we need during the pandemic.
I was going to ask you about that. Has it been difficult? Has it posed some challenges with the way that you're able to communicate with your constituents? What has that been like?
Well, Derek, I don't have to tell you. I know you are like myself. You're used to the crowd. You like to go between people, ask them question, you interview them. We miss that. And there's no
Yeah.
doubt. I definitely miss the human connection and face to face, talk to the resident and see what the issue is. Yes, we miss that very much so. But we are lucky in a way where we can still connect whether electronically or over the phone. And our area is West Carleton is very well spread out. So the
Hmm.
West Carleton ward, like West Carleton March, is larger than the city of Calgary by 50 square kilometer. Uh, we don't have the population Calgary have, but we have
Right.
30,000 population. But do I miss going out, going to a church dinner, go to a public meeting, talk to the people face to face? This is our job. This is what we were elected to do, to to be face to face with the people. But obviously, the pandemic, like you said earlier, taught us something different, and we are trying to adapt as much as possible.
Your particular ward has gone through difficult challenges in the past, Councillor El-Chantiry, and you've come together so well during those difficult times. Tell us what it's been like during this pandemic, and maybe share, a positive story that you've seen of the community coming together.
Well, you're right about my ward have seen quite a bit of challenge recently, as we have floods in 2017. We had the tornadoes in Dunrobin when we lost 56 residential dwelling, and 2019, which was a huge flood all the way from Swisha down to Cornwall, basically to Montreal. It was tremendous floods. And obviously, we had in the end of 2019 the pandemic, COVID. So we've been through a lot, and I always said, my community, my resident, they are very resilient. We work well together. We help each other. Even before my time in politics, Derek, if you remember, I used to own the Lighthouse Restaurant in Constance
Yes,
Bay,
of course.
and
Yeah.
we used to help people. Something happened in the community. Somebody need help. We'll gather. We'll do fundraising. We help the families. So we kind of used to helping each other. The problem you find in the rural, Derek, is you don't see in other area. There's a stigma in the rural area. Like even during the tornadoes, which is we have a lot from across the city, across the province, across Canada, but still our resident, when we ask them, hello, Mrs. So and so, would you like some food, some blankets, some, for you? Oh, no, no, please help other family, Eli. Please help. Well, no, you need it as much as the other person does, or maybe more, but they're so used to being independent in a
Right.
country. Brother go see his brother, his sister, his mother, his cousin. I mean, 56 dwelling, and I think only 8 people uh, ask us for accommodation the first
Wow.
48 hours, and the rest of them, they find their way somehow. Either they have a trailer somewhere, or a family member or friend took them over. But at the high school, we were waiting for resident to come in and go with your family to your house, and we couldn't get enough people to go because if they would like to be self-sufficient, and that's almost sometimes a stigma on its own, because we have so much food, so much clothing, so much furniture, so much gas, cards, and other we want to give to the community. But on the other hand, say, no, no, we're okay. We can do fine. Help other people. Always they consider the other people as well, and which is you don't see it everywhere. But we are lucky when it comes to that. Our community is very resilient. They know each other. I have to tell you, I've been in Constance Bay, or when I came to Constance Bay in 1988. The kids, they were kids back then. Now they're obviously adult, and I got to know them. I got to know their parents, and I got to know their kids. So you can see, uh, the connection we have built in the area in the last 33 years.
Yeah, and it is different, and you know what, it's to be celebrated that it's a different community, and I think there needs to be a greater appreciation from everybody, right, on the different needs of different communities and the different lifestyles and the different personalities. When you look at this, so October coming up, probably rather quickly for many on council. When you look at the goals for this final term in council, not for yourself, but just for this final term with this city council, what are your goals for your particular ward, Eli?
Well, let me begin by saying I'm flattered, I'm thrilled, I'm grateful. I can't say thank you enough to the resident of West Carlton March who trusted me to be the representative of the City of Ottawa. As you recall, Derek, back in the days, we had our own township, and we were forced with the amalgamation. But nevertheless, uh, I wasn't there for the first term, but I was elected in 2003, and we built a very strong relationship with our colleagues, whether Serbian or urban, and we become
Right.
really one city, one team. Now, each one, as you said earlier, is unique. So West Carlton is unique because of the geography, because of the farming community, and also the roads. So we have massive road and sidewalks in shoulders in West Carlton. So
Hmm.
roads has always been my number one, and that's the community also number one challenge to keep our road up. in upkeep, basically, resurfacing, fixing pothole, snow removal, all as it's a huge area. And we are lucky this term of council, my colleagues supported my plea to get extra funding. So last year in I'm talking about 2020 budget, we increased the road budget for my area by 10 million. And in 21, last year's budget for 22, also increased it by 11 million additional funding for roads. Actually, one of your colleagues in a radio station from the Ottawa Valley, they said Councillor El-Chantiry's area received the lion's share of the road budget next year for 2022. And for my resident who can identify the roads, it's the major roads like Donald B. Monroe inside the village of Carp, Greenland
Right.
Road, Upper Dwyer Hill, like some road, major road, they're going to see resurface in 2022, which is, I'm grateful for that. And I'm hoping we'll focus on this, because if you ask my colleague who in the downtown or in the suburbia, maybe transit their priority, or a bicycle
Right.
lane or sidewalk. West Carlton, we don't have transit, we don't have OC Transport, we don't have the LRT, obviously. So we just have roads, and we have to make sure the road kept up with with what's happening. And especially, as you said earlier, we've seen floods, we're seeing tornadoes. Our infrastructure suffer quite a bit. It's still to
Right.
use, but it doesn't mean it was not compromised when you have a road underwater for a couple of months. So that's really
Yeah,
where I'm.
and yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, I mean, and that's that's really what makes a big difference, and what makes rural communities so unique and different from other areas. And one of the other things that comes up in rural communities is really the state of rural broadband. And I know this is something that's been discussed with other rural counselors like yourself. I understand ExploreNet has put in an application to the Universal Broadband Fund. Do you have an update on that at all?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for asking me that question, because I just came in from Roma. Roma is the rural municipality of Ontario, is the sister of AMO, which is the Municipality of Ontario. And Premier Ford and his government committed to broadband to all Ontario, rural Ontario, Northern Ontario, everywhere in Ontario by 2025. He called it broadband connectivity, and he described broadband as essential service like electricity, uh, natural gas, water is broadband, and that's no further from the truth. And now, since the pandemic, we have seen a switch. Now we have folks coming to work and buy homes in a rural area, and not necessarily just rural Ottawa or rural Ontario. They have seen increase in popularity by people coming home to work from a bigger space. They can work from home. They don't have to be downtown Toronto or downtown Ottawa. And broadband is the biggest uh, item we get called about next to roads in my area. So the good news is Exportnet have an application, and also Northwind in if you heard the company, is a local
Yeah.
company in Constance Bay. They work together with ExploreNet, and they apply. And the funding the federal government put in place, it has also some challenge, as you can imagine. Uh, they want the provincial government and the federal government to agree on the location. So basically, if
Okay.
we apply, we have to get approval from both level of government. But we were successful. The first application you talk about, 3 point some million, 3.56 million, is coming to us to serve high speed or fiber optic to Constance Bay, Bachmis Bay, Woodlawn area. It's about 1,300 home, the first application. But as you know, once you start the first application, other will come on board as well.
Right.
And that's the good
Uh,
news for us.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Because you know, technology, as you pointed out earlier, is incredibly important, and the way that you communicate with your constituents, right? I mean, like you said, I miss that, person to person and going out to events and enjoying, but we have to find different ways that we can communicate and share what's happening in our communities. And certainly technology is a big part of that. Broadband's a huge part of that. I want to go back to roads for a moment because you mentioned, maintaining the roads is obviously a big deal in some rural communities. I don't know if yours is the same, but some rural communities have always complained about, speeding and looking at traffic calming measures and looking at different intersections being dangerous. Can you give us an update on that type of situation within the ward?
Well, right across the city, we have complained about speeder, and even during the pandemic, when most people working from home, and you have less cars on the road, it become almost an excuse to speed because, as you know, the country road is wide open, and when you don't have as much traffic, and that you saw increase in speeding, but increase in speeding and traffic violation was right across the city of Ottawa, if it's not across the province actually. So we the city give us each counselor about $50,000 a year to do traffic comma measurement in your own community. If you need an extra stop sign, if I'm sure when you drive around the city, you see all these speed board or speed indicator. It'll tell you how fast you're driving. Those all over the city, and we mark the speed limit on a road. Then we have so many tools in the toolbox, and we are trying to use it. But at the end of the day, uh, resident education is the biggest tool here we need to have.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you see somebody driving that car on the Rideau River the other day in Manotick,
Oh,
and the young woman, she stopped and she took selfie. Like, no matter what kind of traffic measure or traffic comma you can put, if the individual is not educated about sorry, about the risk of their action and their drive, really there's not much you can do. That young woman, to me, she just didn't put herself at risk. Even the neighbors who went to help her, they were at risk. Even the first responder,
absolutely.
they were at risk. And really, what did she learn from it? She was bragging about it, and she said she will do it again. Seriously? And that's the
Yeah.
problem there. Like, we need to educate our young driver and all driver. Just because the road is not busy or don't have a lot of cars on it, it doesn't mean you can fly on it, because you don't know when the wildlife can jump in front of you. West Carleton, we have between 450 to 500 deer collision a year. A year. In one year,
Yeah.
we'll have between 450 to 500. That's how many accident with deer. That's not counting, other wildlife like raccoons or
Right.
or,
Yeah.
or other.
Wild
So
turkeys, that
that's
kind of
right.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we need to be
Yeah.
careful with that. But the traffic, I'm glad the city dedicate 50,000, because each councillor's area is different. I use mine quite often for speed indicator. So if you go in a road like Dunrobin, Thomas Dolan, Marsh Road, anywhere you drive almost in the city, you see those speed indicator. And some of them, they collect data now, Derek. And that data, we can share it with Safer Ottawa and the Ottawa police, and they start paying more attention to those uh, data collection. So when you see a speed board on March Road and showing the speed, in 100 where you're supposed to be 80 or over 100, then Ottawa police will take that data and use enforcement on those roads. So it's really working quite a bit for us. And don't forget the red camera investment. We even start to see them in a rural area. I have one in Carp Road and March Road at the corner. So you can see the red camera, it become really deterrent
It does
folks.
work, does it? I mean, because that's always the question with things like that. So you have seen, I know that we've seen it in other areas as well, but you have seen it work as a deterrent in your area.
Well, we have seen it, and also the city tell us they are collecting quite a bit of money from the red camera. The good news is the red camera uh, violation or tickets is going back to safer Ottawa to to make uh, some area safer. If you need to add the traffic light or roundabout, that money from the red camera it goes to those special projects right across the city, and we've seen quite a bit of benefit from it. We're going to have what a roundabout or a dedicated turn a right lane to Constance Bay. If you remember, in the summertime, Constance Bay got very busy
Hmm.
with the beach, so we
Yeah.
want to make sure our residents are safe on our road. And, uh, obviously, each councillor uh, area is different, but when you talk about speeding road, I think this is right across the city.
Well, you mentioned Constance Bay, which is a great, that beach, which is a great gathering place, that so many residents use. It's a wonderful place. I mean, as you just said, people from outside of your ward come there because it's such a great spot. Must be looking forward to getting back there to, having events being put on and so forth. I mean, certainly over the summertime, it got used during the pandemic because people wanted to get outside and enjoy
Yes.
fresh air. But it's important for you to have something like that within your ward, isn't it?
Well, I have to tell you, the jewel of West Carton, other than the beach in on the Ottawa River, you get the Fitzroy Provincial Park. This is in
Oh,
our
yeah,
community. It's one
yeah,
of the most spectacular park. Even in the winter time, you can put a snowshoe on and go snowshoeing or cross country. In the summertime, you can bring your whole family and they charge by vehicle, not by number of people. You have a nice beach, sand beach. You can rent a canoe. You can you can kayaking. You can do barbecue. You can spend the whole day less than $15 per car. And I have to tell you, it is a spectacular area. My wife and I we just went the other day for snowshoeing. It,
nice.
I can't describe it how beautiful it is. A 300-acre in the middle of the city. Well, fits right out in the middle of the city, on the edge of the city, but still in the city of Ottawa. To be
Hmm.
able to have that much of a space for you, for your dog, for your children, yeah, to come out and enjoy the outdoor and the trails. All the trails, Derek, has been very well used across the city, whether NCC or the one we have in Carp Hills or the Crazy Horse Trail, the one off March Road. All those trails in the summer or in the winter, we have seen a huge increase. If I would say to you, probably 200, 300% increase since the pandemic. And I'm one of those people. I never had time before, but now working from home, you get really tired from sitting down. Uh, by the
Yeah,
afternoon, you like to put a snowshoe on, go do a little bit of snowshoeing in uh, whether Carp Hills or go down behind the Defen bunker. We create a kilometer and a half trail, and it's open to the public. It's free. Just come out, enjoy it, and go home. It's beautiful, just
yeah.
spectacular
Oh,
to
I
be
couldn't agree
out
more.
in the
And what
open.
I Yeah, and what I think is very encouraging is you're seeing them, the city of Ottawa doing that in so many places now. Almost every area of the city now where you go, there's some great outdoor space where you can, as you just described, snowshoeing and cross country
Yeah.
skiing, and there's outdoor skating rinks. I want to get back to city council just for a moment. At times we've seen a very divided city council. Councillor El-Chantiry, and we're going to be seeing, obviously there's a new mayor coming in, we're going to be seeing some new faces as well sitting around the table. What How can the new mayor, do you think, how can they help bridge some of the divide that we've seen on city council?
So you save the best of the last. Is that what they say? The last question.
Yeah.
This is a really really a question can take the whole time, but I'll try to be brief. You're right. The council it was divided this time. but no more than any other time. There's always we are elected independently, and we represent our
Hmm.
community different. Some of us, be able to work with others. Some don't. But I mean, I've been on council 5 terms, Derek, and I can assure you, there's always some divide. Maybe this time was showing more on the surface, but that's nothing unusual for us. But uh,
Yeah, I think there's
as
been
the
more
new
frustration in these, in this particular term as well. I mean, when you just look, I know priorities are different. You don't have the LRT coming through, but that has certainly galvanized some of the division for sure. And I apologize for cutting you off there. Please finish your thoughts on, yeah, with new leadership, what qualities do they need? And it doesn't just fall on the mayor, right? It also falls on the rest of the members of council.
Well, I have to tell you, Derek, once they find out the mayor leaving or is going to leave, because I think a lot of us know a mayor cannot sustain more than 2 or 3 terms. And I think Watson did a great job, Mayor Watson, with the 3 terms. And now they saw the opportunity, and everyone was trying to establish their space, for the next step and that's why you saw deeper division. Just because the LRT didn't work well, which is unfortunately for us at some time. Look at now, it's been since it started, 99.9% of the time it's working. Does anybody get up and say, hey, the LRT is working well, come on people, that's something we should sell? You don't hear that,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah,
You only
I
hear
agree.
the negative and that's why I find this term, many of my colleagues or smaller group of them, and which is we heard at least 3 or 4 of them wants to run for a mayor, and they are trying to uh, separate themselves from what's happening in the city, or try to look with a different views. And something, good luck to them. But I have to tell you, Mayor Watson did a great job, brought the city together. We see more success under his leadership than we ever did before. Look at the Lansdowne Park there. You and I were from Ottawa, and Lansdowne
Hmm.
was falling apart. Look at it today. It is the jewel of the city of Ottawa today, Lansdowne Park. The LRT has been working great since it came back to service by the end of November, so we are grateful to phase 2 of the LRT. They already start the track and the train on them, and they are happy with the results. So, yes, there's always it's going to be some small stuff we disagree with. Somebody want more, somebody want less. But I think in overall, councillor did a good job. We passed the OP, which is one of the largest city decision policy, and it's going to take you till 2046, and we got 22 to voted for
Yeah.
the OP, the Ottawa official
No,
plan.
no,
So
there's been a lot of success, and I don't disagree with you that there's not always been divide. I think it's been amplified too because there's a lot of pressure due to the fact that we're living in an unprecedented pandemic. Councillor El-Chantiry, really appreciate you spending time with us. Thank you so much for joining us today, and want to mention to everybody you've been watching another in the series of our Ward Updates 2022.